Hello everyone and welcome back to the Teaching in China series. In this episode, I'd like to talk about something many teachers often ask about. What's the real difference between teaching in an international school and in a bilingual school in China? Let's break this down into several points. Number 1, curriculum, 2, students, 3, staff, 4, language, 5, holidays, and 6, reading culture. Now, it's important to say that every bilingual school in China is different. The rules, the structure, and even the level of flexibility can vary a lot from one school to another. However, there's a noticeable trend lately. Bilingual schools are being pushed to lean more towards the national Chinese curriculum and to be more rigorous about following it. So in most bilingual schools, the curriculum must be closely aligned with Chinese national standards. On the other hand, international schools have much more freedom. Their curriculum can be whatever the school decides, usually one of the three main ones: IB, Cambridge, or American. In bilingual schools, the local education bureau oversees and controls the curriculum, but in reality, it's a bit more complicated. In many cases, schools that used to teach mainly through Cambridge or, let's say, another international framework still continue doing so, and they only do the bare minimum to meet local requirements and keep the bureau satisfied. In contrast, in international schools, it's not the bureau but the foreign management that controls the curriculum, meaning there is more autonomy but also more accountability, so the teachers can maintain global standards. Now let's talk about the students, and this is actually one of the biggest differences between bilingual and international schools in China. In bilingual schools, anyone can study, both Chinese citizens and foreign students. There are no strict passport restrictions. But in international schools, it's completely different. Only students with foreign passports can be officially enrolled. Chinese citizens are not allowed to study in a full international school that follows a foreign curriculum. By law, all Chinese citizens must follow the national curriculum. Now, that's the rule, but the reality looks a bit different. In most international schools, you'll still find that the majority of students are ethnically Chinese. The difference is that they were born outside of China and hold foreign passports. So even though they officially qualify as international students, in daily life, you wouldn't really notice a big difference. They speak mostly Chinese, they grow up here, and culturally they are very much like locals. The passport is often the only thing that makes them international. When we talk about the staff, the first thing to notice is the ratio of foreign to Chinese teachers. And it's almost the opposite between bilingual and international schools. In bilingual schools, there are usually more Chinese teachers and fewer foreign ones. In international schools, it's the other way around. Most teachers are foreigners, while Chinese staff usually take on roles like teaching assistants, accountants, administrators, or support staff such as cleaners, canteen workers, or maintenance. Another big difference lies in teaching qualifications and pedagogy. In bilingual schools, the majority of teachers are Chinese, and they teach using a very traditional Chinese teaching style. In simple terms, it's a teacher-centered model. The teacher talks, the students listen, and lessons are often PowerPoint-driven. Formative assessment, checking students' understanding during the lesson, is not as emphasized as it is in Western pedagogy. When it comes to teacher qualifications, many bilingual schools still hire teachers without formal teaching license or PGCEs, often having just a bachelor's degree is enough to get the job. That said, the situation has been improving. More bilingual schools are now trying to hire teachers who hold teaching degrees, licenses, or QTS/PGCE certification. In international schools, the standard is higher. While you technically can get hired with just a bachelor's degree, having a teaching license, PGCE or QTS gives you a big advantage and increases your value in the job market. And finally, there is management structure. In bilingual schools, the high management and board members are usually Chinese, and they often get directly involved in teaching decisions, from lesson structure to classroom strategies. In international schools, however, the management is typically foreign and made up of experienced educators, which means they focus more on curriculum design, students' learning and professional teaching standards. So overall, international schools are much closer to what we'd call a Western teaching environment. In bilingual schools, you need to adjust more, both to the expectations of Chinese leadership and to traditional classroom culture that still influences many aspects of teaching. When I talk about language, I mean the language of instruction. In bilingual schools, it's mostly Chinese. In international schools, it's English only. From my experience, this makes a huge difference. In bilingual schools, students simply don't learn English as effectively as in international schools. And the reason is simple. They're not immersed in an English-speaking environment. When I worked in an international IB school, I saw this with my own eyes. A little girl from Germany joined my K2 class not knowing a single word of English. By the end of the school year, she was already constructing short phrases, simple sentences, and could actually hold a basic conversation. It was incredible to see how full immersion hearing and using English all day long helped her learn so naturally. And this wasn't unique. In that school, from K1 up to grade 6, students could speak confidently and express themselves freely in English. Now let's compare that to bilingual schools. Even by grade 12, some students still struggle with simplest instructions. Things like open your notebook or take out your book. And that's quite discouraging. The problem is that they just don't get enough exposure. There aren't enough foreign teachers, and English is rarely used outside of English classes. So students simply don't have enough practice time or the right atmosphere to develop fluency. Another issue is the English level of Chinese teachers themselves. In many bilingual schools, not all teachers speak English fluently. Some don't speak it at all. That makes it even harder to create an English-speaking environment in the classroom. So unfortunately, that's the truth about bilingual schools. Unless the school really invests in English medium instruction and hires more foreign teachers, students will never reach the same level of fluency as those in international schools. The next big difference is holidays, and here the timing and length are quite different. In bilingual schools, holidays follow the Chinese calendar, while in international schools they follow Western calendars. So for example, in a bilingual school there is usually no real Christmas. Maybe just a half day off or 1 day off. In an international school you get at least a week, sometimes even 2 for Christmas. Now, when it comes to Chinese New Year, things sort of balance out. International schools usually have 2 weeks off for Chinese New Year, and combined with the Christmas break, that makes about 3 weeks off for winter holidays in total. In bilingual schools, it's usually 3 weeks off for Chinese New Year and no break for Christmas. So in the end, it's roughly the same amount of time off, just distributed differently. Personally, I prefer having 3 weeks in a row. It gives you time to travel somewhere, relax properly and reset. Splitting the break into 2 shorter sections doesn't feel as refreshing. There is one thing I really dislike about working in a bilingual school in China: make-up days. For example, during the Golden Week holiday in October, we get 7 days off, according to the calendar, from the 1st to the 7th. But for some reason that still escapes me, we have to make up a couple of those days. That means working on a Saturday or Sunday before the holiday, and again working one of the weekends after the holiday. So you end up working 6 days a week before and after every major Chinese holiday. And honestly, that drives me crazy. I just don't understand the logic behind it. If we already have 7 days off on the calendar, why do we have to make them up? If you're planning to work in a bilingual school in China, be ready for this. The best thing you can do is simply accept it. There's no other way around it. And finally, reading culture. It might not sound like a major point, but to me, it really shows the difference in school philosophy. In international schools, the reading culture is strong. Students are exposed to books from a very young age, even from K1, with teachers guiding them through stories and discussions. In a good international school, you'll often have a foreign librarian, and this person isn't just someone who gives out books. A librarian in an international school plays an active role in education. They read books with students, discuss characters, themes, and moral aspects, and even help connect these stories to the IB learner profile. I used to be a librarian myself in one international school. It was a small school, so I wore many hats. I was a librarian, PSPE teacher, and a music teacher, all at the same time. But it gave me a great understanding of how powerful reading can be when it's done right. In bilingual schools, yes, there is usually a library, but most of the time it's empty. You rarely see students reading or borrowing books. The culture of reading simply isn't as strong, and that's really unfortunate. So to sum up, bilingual and international schools in China can look quite similar on the surface, but once you start teaching, you realize they're very different worlds. From the curriculum and management style to the students, language, and even reading culture. Everything shapes the atmosphere of your teaching experience. If you've taught in both environments, I'd love to hear your story, your experience in the comment section. Share your thoughts and let's see how your perspective compares. Thanks for watching, hit that like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you in the next episode.